And I often say to my clients, would you actually talk to your child when they fell over for the first time, when they first started walking? Would you actually talk to them the way you talk to yourself inside your head? And they often will sit up and say, no, well, of course I wouldn't. That's my child. I wouldn't want to, So I said, why do you do that to yourself? Why do you put yourself down? Why do you, instead of like what you did for your child, you got them up and you said, all right, come on, let's go again, get up. You got to, and help them to start walking. Why do we continually, smash ourselves, and mentally and internally, we continue to bring ourselves down and have that negative self-talk?
Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems, and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Hey listeners, how you going? I'm really excited today. I've got a man who looks after men in the world, and I'm really looking forward to actually sharing this podcast. Welcome to Uncovered today, Rob.
Thank you, Jason. Really appreciate being here.
Yeah, so look, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about what you do, how you, and what sort of got you into working in the way that you do now. So just give us a little bit of a backstory, Rob.
Yeah, so for me, look, I sort of got on a personal development journey back in around 2010, so about 12 years ago. I went through a really, I say a little bit of a dark time in my life. Through that GFC, I had a business that I had to, my wife's business, I had to close due to her just having a few health issues, and she was taking on a lot within her life, just with business and being a mum, and the kids were quite young at the time, and she had a bit of a health issue go on, which she got through, which was all good. But for me, I also lost a lot of money through that time. And as a man, I sort of thought that I was failing my family and, failing my wife. And, I really felt unworthy, not worthy, and just felt like a real failure, to be honest. And I went through a really dark time in my life, really, so I went through some depression and all of that sort of stuff. And I'll talk more about depression and all of those things later on. But my wife surprised me and bought me a ticket to a Tony Robbins event. Or there was Tony Robbins and a few other people, and I went along to that, and I just fell in love with the man. I had a man crush, I think. So yeah, just through that. And then from there, I bought different programs of his and went to his live events, and eventually thought, I love what he does, and I want to do the same. I want to start to change people's lives and help people that have maybe gone through what I've gone through, especially, businessmen as such, hold on to their stress, then bring it home, then, are not present, because I know how I was. I wasn't present when I got home to my kids, to my wife. I brought my work home with me, and my business, that because I own my own business, I brought all of that stress and pressure home with me, and I wasn't the best version I could be for my family. So, yes.
Yeah, I think this can be a bit of a problem with a lot of men, and I work in this space as well, and it's one of those difficult places where a lot of males don't really know how to open up and share what's really going on, and do wear that burden on their shoulders. And sometimes it's a prideful thing. How do you help people, break that barrier where they're, quite often unable to communicate what's going on because they want everyone to know that they're doing well, and they are building that pressure inside their human psyche? So what is it that that you do that sort of helps people, get over their hump?
Yeah. So for me, I think the biggest thing is helping people and helping men. So my wife, just to give you a little bit of a background on her as well, she's also a coach. So I got into the coaching space, and funny enough, she bought me. I wanted to get further into coaching when I discovered all of this, and for my birthday, she paid a deposit to the coaching institute where I studied. So then she got involved straight after that. So for me, what it was that I find that with a lot of men, we hold on to a lot of stuff. Okay, we hold on to a lot of our sadness, hold on to a lot of our, that stress and pressure and all of that sort of stuff. So, and we don't like to, as you just said before, we don't like to show the world that we're not okay. And that's one of the things that I first talk to people about is it's okay to be vulnerable. Okay, it's okay to be vulnerable and sit with your wife or your friends and family and just say, hey, I'm not doing well at the moment, and actually getting it off your chest.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually speaking and talking about it is something that's really holding it in. I'm not sure if you've ever gone through any of that stuff, any sort of hard times, but holding it in is the worst thing we can do, because it's like a stack of bricks. It's just one on top of the other, or the pancake stack, as I call it. It just stacks on top of each other, stacks on until we get to a stage and we go kaboom and we burst. And so that's the one thing, is actually being able to talk to someone. Number two is changing our focus, changing what we're focused on. What's wrong is always there, but what's right is always there as well. So it's focusing on the good things, focusing on what's abundant in your life right now. Is it family? Is it your friends? Is it the relationships you have around you? So changing all of that. And yes, business may not be going great, or it might be really stressful for people, but if we continue to focus there, we get more of it. And that's the thing. So really focusing on that, changing the way we think is something that I really talk about and help and coach a lot of, changing the way we think about things, giving it different meanings, instead of looking at failures as, I failed and I'm a failure. Well, no, failure is just feedback on the way we've done something. So how do we take that and change it? So take that far, take whatever's gone wrong, look at what's gone wrong, change what we've done to get better results, and go again. Like I tell a lot of, my clients, and men are usually really harsh critics of themselves. And I often say to my clients, would you actually talk to your child when they fell over for the first time, when they first started walking? Would you actually talk to them the way you talk to yourself inside your head? And they often will sit up and say, no, well, of course I wouldn't. That's my child. I wouldn't want to, So I said, why do you do that to yourself? Why do you put yourself down? Why do you, instead of like what you did for your child, you got them up and you said, all right, come on, let's go again, get up. You got to, and help them to start walking. Why do we continually, smash ourselves, and mentally and internally, we continue to bring ourselves down and have that negative self-talk? Change that. And something that I'm really big on is and it's probably only been in the last, I have done it for a long time, but really focused on where I focus now is so important to me. So I do some meditation around what I want to attract in my life, and what's abundant in my life. And I also do a gratitude practice 6 times a day. So I do one in the morning and one at night, sort of around half an hour. And then I do, during the day, I do 3 or 4 of just 5-minute little gratitude practices. And that's something I talk to my clients about all the time now. And I'm constantly telling them, you've got to continue. If your energy's low, how are you going to get it back up? What do you love? And they start to, and then straight away you hear someone talk. As soon as I say, what do you love? What's great in your life? And they start to talk about their family, their kids, their wife, their dogs, their pets, whatever it is, you see their energy start to rise. And I go, bang, there it is. Focus on more of that in your life. Focus on the things that truly bring joy to you. And you'll see your energy will come back up. And so that's just a minute, a very small part, but that's a lot of it. Changing the way we're thinking, changing the way or what we're focusing on is huge.
Yeah, and I think this is really important. Like a lot of the time, we invest a lot of energy in our internal thought mechanisms, and we struggle not knowing what to do with those thought mechanisms. And there's lots of ways in which we can use techniques to get that changed. And I think a lot of the time it comes down to the dynamic of the help that's involved. I think if you're that person who has that ability to help support people, I think it's really, really important. And I think it's really good. Like a lot of the time, we have these dynamics. Like you help men, and you're a man, and there are times, listeners, and don't take this the wrong way, women, is that sometimes men do need to speak to men about men's stuff. And we are different in the way that we organize our brain, the way that we do things. And it's really nice actually having a male come in and actually do that sort of support for us. It's not that you women don't help. I know you do. It's just sometimes it is having a male talk to a male in a male setting that creates a little bit more harmony. Like in our academy, we do this on every third Thursday, where the men in our academy, we all have a chat about stuff men. And my wife Anya does a chat for just women.
Yeah, right.
In the academy, and it's really nice because it's different conversation, and different information comes out of men when they're talking to just men. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Because it's funny because, as you said, I coach men, and Georgia, my wife, coaches women. So we've gone into that space, and then we actually come together and do work with businesses as a group. Like a whole group of, a team, and then we both come together, excuse me, and bring that masculine and feminine together to show, and sort of come from both sides, which is awesome as well. But absolutely, I think it is important that men do have other, like, men coaches to go to. We are wired differently. We think differently. And I think as males and females, I feel that males are quite simple. When I say simple, I'm not talking more but we are very, we go about life in a very simple way, I think, a lot of the time, where women probably and ladies and females are a little bit more complex, and that's okay. That's just the different dynamics of both. And I know I've actually coached some females in the past, and it has been very different when I'm coaching a male compared to coaching a female. And that's all good. And as I said, so, but yeah, I do. I love it that, that I have the opportunity to help men, because it's something, a lot of the time, it's something that I've been through, very similar situation. Every situation's different. We handle, we're all individuals and we handle things in a different way. But the strategies to get through what we're all going through are very similar at the same time.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Like we think we're unique unicorns. At the end of the day, we're not really. And when it all comes down to it, it's quite often the same things that we're actually going through. And the way we do it is different. Anya put a post up, sent me an image of how men and women think from a train tracks perspective. And there was just one train track for the men.
I saw it.
30 or 40 different ones for the women.
I think I actually commented on that.
Yeah.
I actually think I commented on it because I actually saw that. And I went, it's so true. We, as men, like my wife will say to me, why can't you? And not now she understands, because she understands more about how men think. But I will often say to her, don't ask me to do more than one thing, because that's just me. I'm like, bang, I'm laser focused on the one thing and the one thing only, where she can do multiple things. And I just go, oh man, you're frying my brain now. Like, and that's absolutely, I love that post. That was so, it was pretty spot on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is really essential. So when we're looking at, stuff that's going on for men, that, in their businesses, what do you pick up that's pretty common that a lot of men are doing right now, especially because of what's happening just recently because of the pandemic that's happened? What do you think a lot of men are going through at the moment with regard to their businesses? Is there something similar that you're noticing at all, Rob?
High stress.
Yeah, okay.
Is probably the biggest. A lot of stress, and it's something that spiraled me into just I probably didn't touch on this earlier on, but I had a heart attack at 42 due to my stress. I think it was probably lifestyle was a big part, but my stress levels were huge. Like, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. staring at the ceiling. And I feel that is something that has really hurt a lot of businessmen and women, but I talk to men. So the businessmen that I talk to most, I think, through the pandemic and through what's happened, businesses that have either gone down or have been really hurt a lot, is men are really stressed at the moment. There's a lot of men that are really stressed and are trying to get through that. And as I said, with that stress, they bring that home with them. So they're not present to their family, not present to their wife, they're not present to their kids. And then from that, unfortunately, that also leads to probably a lack of performance, if we want to call it, in the bedroom. And it affects the bed, that intimacy with their partner, due to probably not being connected with their wife and not being present to their wife, things like that. So it affects people in so many ways, not just one. There's so many after effects from the stress, even health. I find men will overeat and indulge, so stress eat, things like that. They'll go to junk food because it gives them that pleasure for that moment, and then they're back in the stress again. So yeah, I think stress would be probably the biggest one right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think how do you, like, when someone comes to see you, Rob, like, what's the first thing that you would do to help them? Like, is there a certain strategy that you use to help them deal with their stress straight away, so they can sort of take a lot of the ice off the moment pretty quickly? What do you do to help them quickly?
So I'm NLP and so NLP certified, timeline therapy certified as well.
Yeah.
I also have I'm certified in eDisc, which is a behavior profiling tool.
Mm-hmm.
So there's DISC, which is a personality profile. eDisc is behavior profile. So that's one of the first things I do is I get my clients to do a behavior profiling tool. So I just see their behaviors, what their behaviors are, how they behave, which is really awesome. It gives me a great insight into that person. And it gives me an insight into what I can actually go on and coach around as well. So where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, what they could, really work on, things like that. But yeah, just with that, it's probably the NLP, sort of working with the unconscious mind, all of that sort of stuff that really helps them the most. Because with NLP and with timeline therapy, we do get results really quickly, really good change really quickly. So
for the listeners, can you explain, like, for people who have no idea what that is, what's NLP?
So neuro-linguistics programming. So working a lot with the unconscious mind, and so a lot of it is closed-eyed, sort of work, closing your eyes, things like it's not all closed-eyed, but yeah. So working with the unconscious mind, and with even timeline therapy, going back in time into things that they've done in the past where they've taken on a meaning, where it might have been something's happened to them in their life. And I'll give you a perfect example is we had a friend of ours that used to stutter a fair bit.
Yeah.
He was bullied as a kid, and he took on the stuttering so people would feel sorry for him and he would stop being bullied. And we went back with timeline therapy and NLP and did some work with his unconscious mind. He could never say his last name, his surname, without saying his first name. Now, I won't mention his name because it's all confidential, but so for me, my surname's Yoannidis. If I was him, he could never say Yoannidis. He would have to say Rob Yoannidis. He'd have to say his first name first. And Georgia my wife said to him, look, how about we do a session together? He goes, okay, cool. Literally. And it was amazing. It was mind blowing. Within half an hour, they had a half an hour just doing some NLP and timeline therapy. So working on the unconscious mind, working with, and changing and reframing a few things that he'd thought of as a kid and still had that thinking. That's the thing. Sometimes things happen to us in our lives and as a 3, 4, 5-year-old, and we still have that thinking as a 40-year-old. And that belief as a 40-year-old. So she did some work with him. He came out and I was in tears. I could not believe, like, so quick. He was like, my surname, this is my surname. And he was he literally, the stuttering was gone. All due to that he let that meaning of being bullied and stuttering, he dropped that meaning. He said, I could, and doing some work with the unconscious mind. And now there's times where he has stuttered, but it's when he gets nervous. So Georgia said to him, look, let's do some more work around it. Like, let's actually, but it's amazing. Like in literally half an hour, he'd had changes. So a lot of it, as I said, is working with the unconscious mind, reprogramming, rewiring as such. Because as kids, what I call the tribal cycle. So we get a lot of our thinking and our belief systems through our parents, our grandparents, aunties, uncles, the older people in our lives, even teachers at times, So we might have beliefs around money, money's evil, rich people are evil, things like that. Well, money's not evil. Money is money. Like, it's what people do with money that makes it bad, so, and when I say that, when I say it's what people do with, it's people using money the wrong way, whether it's, whatever, if illegally is where it becomes evil. And money's not the evil part, the person is doing that. Money's just a bartering system that we use to get what we want. It's as simple as that. So people have beliefs around money. They might have beliefs around business and, they may have come through a family that's been blue collar all their life. So they think, I can never be a business owner because, business owners are not trustworthy people and not good people. Well, that's not true. I know lots of good, and often when I hear someone say that to me, business people are, they're always, successful business people are not trustworthy and not reliable or not good people. And I go, oh, okay, so do you know any business people? And they go, yeah. And do those business people do good things in your community? And they go, oh yeah, of course they do. So it's not everyone. Not everyone is bad because they're a business, but it's the thinking that or the meaning that we've given it, through that generations of different people, the people in our lives. So it's reframing those, giving those things that, those meanings that we've been given as kids growing up, and changing those through NLP and through working with our unconscious mind.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this is really important, guys, is that, with a lot of the businesses who are struggling at the moment, it's really important to get help at the moment, and to really reach out to receive that help and know that there's another way of thinking. Because, regardless of whether the pandemic has affected you or not, business is different. I was chatting to a mate of mine on a walk yesterday, and he was, he was just talking about what he does and the challenges that he faces. And it's different as a business owner because your job is to make money, and it's all on you. So that's where the pressure comes in, right? As it doesn't have to be. This is the thought process and the belief system that goes in. But it's all on you. And then if you stay there, and it's all on you, and that's how you think, that's how businesses stay the same size.
Correct. Absolutely. Again, that's that limiting belief of, I've had clients that have said, I can't grow my business anymore. I really want to grow it. And it's their what I call their money thermostat. They might fear success because they feel that, if I become really successful in my business, am I going to change as a person? What are people going to think of me? Am I going to lose people in my family or my friends or things like that because I've gone to another level in my business? So, there is a lot of that. But it's consistently changing the way we think. If we think about the way people thought 60 years ago compared to today, it's a completely different thought process.
Yeah.
Because times have changed so much. And I think we noticed that a little bit when I talk about, the tribal cycle and having that thinking of generations gone before us. I think we saw a lot of that when COVID first hit and people raided the shelves for toilet paper. Right. So
Australians did, not everybody did.
Well, no, but it happened in America. I did too. I was talking to a client in America 2 weeks ago, and I thought it was just in Australia that this happened. Okay. And I said, what went missing off your shelves? And he said, toilet paper. And I went silent for a second. And I said, are you serious? And he said, yep. So it's amazing that, and this is the only way I can think, or I thought, well, wait on. As someone that studies sort of human behavior and all of that, how could this be? How can two countries be? And it was not just Australia. It was my wife's Canadian, talking to family. Canada, same thing. Toilet paper was one of the first things that went. And I thought about it and I thought, how is it that we thought that we were going to run out of toilet paper, of all things? And it's having that scarcity mindset, So again, I know with my grandparents, and probably not so much my mum and dad, but my grandparents used to drum it into me, bread is like sacred, because back in the day, back through the world wars, that's what they lived on, bread and water, pretty much, right? So my grandmother would always, never waste bread, and to this day, I won't throw bread. If bread's gone stale, I won't throw it in the bin. I will throw it out to the birds. That's just one of my wirings from my grandparents, because bread was so sacred to them, because that's one of the things that they could make that was so cheap. Get some flour, get some water, mix it, let's go, we've got some bread, we've got something to eat. So looking at that scarcity mindset through the start of the pandemic, people went into that reptilian sort of brain and were like survival mode. And there was no need. Because we, as society, toilet paper's made here in Australia. We were never going to go without. And the manufacturer said, people, I remember listening to, people, the manufacturers were saying, we make toilet paper every day. We just can't get it out quick enough to you, because everyone just keeps taking it and hoarding it in their houses. It's okay. But that was the survival mindset of, probably, this is my thoughts, was that's the wiring we got from our grandparents, who went through really tough times through wars. And it was like, quick, stock up on everything, because we're going to run out. Well, it's not going to happen. That was never going to happen, So yeah, it's very interesting the way we actually think when with that scarcity mindset. And that's something else that I do talk to my clients a lot about, is changing the scarcity mindset, going from scarcity to abundance, Yeah. And if it's not money, but people go, but I don't have money, how can I think abundance? But you've got so much around you that you could be grateful for, and you have so much abundance in, but you don't focus on that, you focus on the money only. So people think they have to, the only way they're going to be abundant in their life is through money, which is so untrue. It's yes, money is important, and absolutely, we all want to be, wealthy and have as much of it as we can. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that, but we can't also define, or have money define our feelings and our lives, which so many, and that's where a lot of the stress in business comes from, because cash flow's down, or sales might be down at the moment, or were down through that COVID time, and people are trying to play catch up now.
Yeah, and I think this is really important. Like, as you said, look, if we just focus on that one commodity, especially in business, the stress levels do skyrocket, and I've experienced that throughout my business career. I've been in business since 2001, and working in my business, I've had ups and downs, highs and lows, and those sorts of things. Yep. And that's how business works, guys. It never goes upwards all the time, and it doesn't work that way. So Rob, I really want to thank you for jumping on Uncovered today. This has been a really, really important message, especially for the business owners. So what I'll do is I'll put your details, Rob, on our show notes, so people can get in touch with you and get the opportunity to get your support and care at this time, especially for the fellas to get a hand in their business and get them moving in the right direction with the way that we think. So I think this is so essential right now, especially for men to be able to reach out to other men and get the help that they really need. So, Rob, thank you so much for jumping on Uncovered and giving us your insight and support today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and it's been great to just get the word out there. I think it's so important because, as I said earlier, I think men as a whole, it's probably generalising a little bit, but a number of men sort of hold so much in. I think that's why suicide rates are so high as well. So
yeah, they sure are.
Yeah, so it's really important that we just continue to get the message out there and as brothers help each other.
That's right. So listeners, if you really like this podcast and you really like hearing what Rob has to say, I'd love it if you could like and share this podcast and let the message go out there. If there's someone that you know that you believe could get some support from Rob, or get some insights from what you heard today, just send it to them. We really need a really strong message out there. Mental health is such a big issue in Australia and in the world right now because of the situation, especially for people in business. I'm not saying it's not for others. It's just a really big thing for people who are reliant on their business to feed their family, like Rob and I do. All right. Thank you so much, Rob, for jumping on today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't buy it, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.